What's up, everybody? Beetlejuice has found his way back to the big screen after 36 years, but was it a worthy return? There will, of course, be spoilers here in my review, so you've been warned. Now let's get back to Winter River. As always, I'm going to get my cons out of the way first here, and I only have two, but they did have a pretty decent impact on my experience. First is Charles Dietz's funeral. That was like 15 seconds long. At least it felt like that for me. It wasn't actually that short in the movie, but they have like the choir singing the Banana Boat song, and don't get me wrong, I love that dinner scene in the original movie. It's hilarious, but this just didn't work for me. Delia's death and that bit of the story didn't work for me either, although the death itself, like that singular moment itself, was funny after she had bragged about the snakes and paying extra to get the fangs out, only for them to bite her and kill her. Then, the only other thing is I thought both villains, Dolores and Jeremy, were rather weak all around, and there probably should have only been one of them that made the final cut of the movie, or that final cut needed to be longer so both their stories could be fleshed out just a bit more. It felt very basic, which isn't necessarily bad in and of itself, but it brought the stakes down for me in this case. That's all I've got to complain about though, so let's get into my long list of pros as this movie was a blast despite its flaws. I have to start this section off by giving props to both Tim Burton, the director, and Danny Elfman, who did the score. They both did a phenomenal job bringing us back into this world that, quite honestly, I was a tad bit worried about working in 2024, but it's not a problem with those two involved. The score was amazing, and Burton's world here was just as great as when he originally created it, and it was the same with the returning cast members. The comedy also worked really well for me, with Danny DeVito's scene at the beginning of the movie bringing me one of the biggest smiles in some time, and it continued throughout the movie. Catherine O'Hara's delivery for the line, "I've lost my horny handyman," was also right up there for the hardest I've laughed in a movie theater in recent memory. Then, as I kind of already mentioned, the practical effects in the movie are amazing. They also mix in some animated scenes, like to show Charles's death, which was really cool, and of course, the afterlife was full of wacky walking corpses once again. And despite it being a bit overstuffed with both the villains and all of our living characters, I did think this story was solid. Obviously, it's not flawless, but there's far more good than bad with stuff like the messy relationship between Lydia and her daughter, who's Jenna Ortega, that drives the story really. Them finding their dad in the afterlife was a great moment towards the end. There were some, in the last like 20 minutes, there's some stuff that saved the third act for me. That was one of them. The wedding was also really great there, and then Charles and Delia meeting in the afterlife, and the dream scene at the very end were really solid. Finally, another thing I kind of already mentioned, but whatever, you can't give Danny Elfman enough shout outs for the musical work he does. There were a couple moments when we're dealing with the villains that would have been unbearable without his work, and he really just, as he tends to do, helped carry the vibe of this world throughout the movie. And so that'll do it for my review of Beetlejuice. I don't think it's quite as good as the first movie, but it's a solid sequel that captures the magic once again and provides for a good hour and 45 minutes of laughs, landing at a 7 out of 10 for me personally. Let me know what you thought about the sequel though down in the comments below, and make sure you have a great day.